Okay, it looks like we should be live. So I'm just going to double check our pages and see if that is correct. Like to verify that just in case, so we don't get talking for about 30 minutes and realize we're not live. That would not be good. So it does look like we are live on the Mildred Westervelt Warner Transportation Museum's Facebook page. And so I'm going to go over to the Gorgas House and just double check. It looks like we are live on the Gorgas House Museum's Facebook page. We're not going to be live on YouTube this morning. We will upload the video to YouTube later in the day. But because we have so many folks with us today on the live stream for Museums from Your Home, we had to go through Zoom. So we're doing it a little bit differently today, but it will be the same great content. All right, everybody, I think we're going to go ahead and get started, and we'll get this kicked off. Welcome to today's Museums from Your Home live stream presented by the University of Alabama Museums. My name is Rebecca Johnson, and I am the Communication Specialist for UA Museums. And joining me today are Katherine Edge, Director of the Mildred Westervelt Warner Transportation Museum, and Brandon Thompson, Director of the Gorgas House Museum. And Brandon, I see we have some guests with us today. Would you like to introduce them?
Yes, I'd be happy to. We had so much fun doing this a couple months ago. We wanted to try and do it again. But today we're joined by work studies and student volunteers of the Gorgas House, but also we're joined by a work study hunter from the Mildred Westervelt Warner Transportation Museum. So we're looking forward to talking to everybody today, catching up, seeing everybody's summer's going, and just kind of pick your brains and see what do you think about some of the things that are going on. So yeah, this is gonna be pretty relaxed, pretty conversational. So yeah, looking forward to today.
And I just want to remind everybody, if you're watching, this is live, so you can comment in the comment section. If you have any questions for any of these folks, you can leave those in the comment section. And just as a reminder, this is live, so in case there are connection issues that we might have, just be patient with us. Hopefully none of that will happen, but just want to remind everybody that this is live, and sometimes those things do happen. So I guess I will turn it over to Brandon and Katherine and get us started in today's conversation.
Well, sure. Thank you. Hello, everybody. Good seeing everybody again. Looking forward to talking to everybody today. So this is a recap, just real quickly. This is going to be kind of a reintroduction for everybody, except for Hunter. So what we're going to do, we're going to do a quick introduction. Can each of you tell us where you're from, what year you are, what your major is, and where you currently are, where you're currently located, so everybody can let everybody know where everybody's from. So Hunter, we're going to start with you. So go ahead, do an introduction.
Well, Hunter Chanel. I am currently in my apartment in Tuscaloosa. On the Strip, I am a mechanical engineering major. I love history and stuff, and that's why I kind of drifted towards going towards the Transportation Museum as a work study. I am also a junior, and yeah, I think that basically covers all the questions that were posed.
Yeah, we miss having Hunter down at the museum so much. We miss him.
I miss it too. It was good work. I got to put my engineering to test to get some dimensions for the entire middle area. So
oh yes, I definitely put my student who was good at math and numbers to work. Said, Hunter, map out the entire floor plan of the museum so we know exactly how much square footage we're dealing with here, because that's going to be really important. And he did it beautifully. So we really miss having our student down at the museum.
Yeah, one benefit for us having students from all these different disciplines and all these different fields is that we can incorporate your expertise and your interest into the museum experience, which is one thing I'm really missing right now. And I'm looking forward to seeing everybody again in a couple of weeks, couple of months potentially. So Hunter, thanks so much. It's nice having you. We're gonna have a great time. So yeah, this is gonna be a lot of fun. Okay, we're gonna move down to Michaela. Michaela, you wanna give us a quick recap? Where you're from, what year you are, what your major is, where you're currently talking to us from.
Mm-hmm. All right, so I am a theater major with a minor in creative media. I am officially a senior, thank goodness. And I am from Charleston, South Carolina, which is currently where I am.
Very good. Yeah, it's a little sad that you're a senior and you're going to be leaving us in a couple months. You've been at the Gorgas House longer than I have. You were able to teach me a good bit of stuff when I came in. But it's been fun working not only with you, but also with the Department of Theater and Dance and everything that they bring to the table. And we have some potentially fun projects coming up in the fall that I can tell you about kind of off camera with the Department of Theater. So really looking forward to that too. All right, so Michaela, once again, thank you. Great seeing you. All right, we're gonna move on down to Ivy. Ivy, can you tell us where you're from, what year you are, what your major is, and where you're currently talking to us from?
Yes, so my name is Ivy. I am a sophomore. I major in art history, and I recently added on a double major in New College. I'm from Birmingham, but right now I am at my mom's house in Florence, Alabama, which is in North Alabama area. So I'm just hanging out here among fields of wheat and corn and whatnot.
That's not a bad place to be.
Yeah, it's very nice. The sunsets are beautiful.
Yeah, Florence is a beautiful place, great archaeology and history there. And I have to ask this question. Have you ever been to the Renaissance Fair in Florence?
No, I haven't. I mean to go every year, and I know everybody who goes all the time, but I've never actually gone. I really need to go. It seems like the type of thing that would be right up my alley.
All right, that might be your sophomore project this year, is to go to the
I'll have to do a research project and bring something back from the Renaissance Fair and incorporate it into the Gorgas House.
I think that is your challenge. We've got a couple other projects going on, but I think that's the one I'm going to assign to you this year. I think that's going to be a lot of fun. All right, well, Ivy, thanks so much. Thanks so much. It's great having you back. All right, moving over to Morgan. Morgan, can you tell us, where you're from, what your major is, what year you are, and where you're currently talking to us from?
Yeah, okay, so I am Morgan. I'm originally from Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and that's where I am. I'm at my dad's house. Actually right outside in Prairieville, but it's basically Baton Rouge. I'm a junior chemical engineering major with a minor in history. So that's basically it.
I know that counts. Yeah. I just think it speaks to, how diverse our backgrounds are. And no matter what our academic disciplines might actually be, we can always find meaning and bring those expertise and those strengths to the museum field. So, no, this is exciting. So, yeah. Morgan, great having you back. Baton Rouge is a neat town. I've been there a couple of times for different conferences and whatnot. There's a lot of purple and gold floating around the city, but nobody's perfect. No place is perfect. So good to have you back. Okay, guys. So yeah, we're gonna go ahead, Morgan. I'm sorry.
Oh, I get a lot of crap for going to Alabama because it's a big. I feel like it's a bigger rivalry for them just because they're so salty. No offense, LSU, love y'all, but yeah, I get a lot of crap, and so I'm just like, well, I don't care. I'm like, when you pay for my, college, you can decide where I go.
That's fair. That's a really fair assessment, and you've got all of us. We've got your back. From Tuscaloosa, I'm not going to Baton Rouge. That's a little bit of a hostile location, but from up here, we've got you. We've got you covered for sure.
Okay.
All right, thanks, guys. Thanks everybody for introducing yourselves. Thanks again for joining us. So what we're going to do, we're going to move on to our questions, and we're going to start off pretty easy, pretty relaxed. Hunter, we're going to start with you. Can you tell us, how your summer's going, and what are some of the things you're doing to stay busy and relax?
Well, so far I'm taking 2 summer classes at the time. I know that's probably going to be like it's going to go well. One of them's just faster paced. It's like half of the summer semester, so it's going to be done in like a week, and I started like 3 weeks ago. And for a hobby and stuff to keep busy, like I just like to go for a run. There's barely any gyms and stuff, that like the rec center's not open and everything, so I just really just do cardio and stuff. That's just to keep busy.
And that's one of your, is that one of your classes in engineering that you're taking that's on the fast track?
Yes, it's the statics class. And then
statics.
Yes.
I'm gonna be really nosy. Who's your instructor?
It is Nasir Papon.
Okay, that's a good friend of mine that I went to high school with is in the engineering department, and she teaches statics on a regular basis. So I wondered if you had her, but she must not be teaching over the summer. So, well, that's fantastic, Hunter. Good job. Not taking, not only one class, but 2, and one of them is fast tracked. That's. I'm impressed. I'm impressed that you're in engineering. So that's awesome. Good, Good for you.
Also, the other class is an electrical engineering class, and is the hardest in the curriculum. And I don't know why I decided to take it over the summer. I need someone in front of me to tell me what I'm doing.
I'm sure you'll do fine. I have every confidence in you. I'm sure you'll do fine.
Thank you.
Yeah, so a couple questions, and I'm going to go ahead and lead into the next question because we kind of touched on it right here. So in terms of the classes you're taking, we know you're taking electrical engineering and statics. First off, what is statics? I have no idea what that is. And two, what is it like studying at distance?
All right. Statics is analyzing a body of like moving parts, like a beam or something, like seeing how it behaves with like the natural forces of like just being there. Like if like part of it will act on the other parts in any kind of way. It's just like, it's basically not a dynamics class. It's basically just like, hey, this thing is here. So what forces are acting on it naturally, like a torque or a moment. So it's basically studying like the natural things for like, if you were to like to make a bridge, how would the supports like react to you like having put that load on top of it? But the learning by distance and studying, it's been challenging. I'd say like I definitely don't have anywhere else to study but in my room, so that's kind of it's kind of daunting, and it's so easy to get carried away and like do other things. But I'd say I can't wait for actual like things to start back up, so I can have that opportunity to broaden my choices in which I study and learn.
So much like everybody else, just constant coping.
Yes.
Constant coping. Yes, coping. Good for you. Good for you.
Yeah, Hunter, that's great. First, thanks for explaining what statics are. That sounds like an incredibly important thing that I'm glad somebody knows about, especially when they come to like building things around us. So thanks for explaining that to us. And we're probably going to touch on this with everybody else too in terms of studying at distance and what that means and how we cope with it, and especially how we might be able to apply that to all of our different disciplines. But yeah, you're doing great. Sounds like you're doing great. So yeah, thanks for sharing it with us. All right, moving down to Michaela. So how is your summer going? What are you doing to stay busy and relax? And what courses are you taking if you're taking them? And what is it like to study at distance? So how's your summer going?
First of all, the summer's going great. I am taking Introduction to Music and then Intro to Religious Studies.
I took Intro to Music.
It's a wonderful class. I've found so many pieces that I like really like now. And my Introduction to Religion class really is pretty eye-opening to all the different traditions and cultures that there are. Let's see. Besides that, my family started like a garden, and we are currently at war with a group of geese that have decided that the garden is now theirs. So it rained a couple days ago, and they came in and they just took all of our different lettuces. They just ate them all. I didn't know geese liked lettuce.
Geesey grass and all kinds of things. Yeah,
they
are
just
bossy.
stripped it down to the stem.
They are bossy.
I was about to say, Rebecca has a little bit of experience with some geese right now. If you go back and check the music live streams and stuff, yeah.
Yeah, I'm determined to become a Canada goose expert by the end of all of this. Yeah, if you have any geese questions, let me know. Yeah,
we're losing.
Yeah, sometimes you just have to like give them the ground. Yeah, sometimes you're not going to win with geese.
And the thing is, they look at us while they do it.
Yeah. Have they hissed at you yet?
My toddler does that.
Yeah. Yeah. Be careful. They hiss.
Oh goodness gracious.
Yeah.
Terrifying birds.
If they ever lower their head, you are in trouble because they are headed your way. And they're mean. They're pretty from a distance, but man, they are mean.
I've seen them go after kids. I don't want to mess with them.
I was one of those kids. I got bit by a goose I was visiting my great grandmother, and she would go feed the ducks, and I wouldn't give the goose the bread. And so it like went after me. And ever since, I stay away from geese. I don't go near them. I give them like 50 feet like range, like don't mess.
I'm with you, Morgan. I had a
Black squirrels
similar
were bad.
experience, but with chickens when I was
Oh,
young. So
no.
I, they didn't attack me, but they just got way too close. And as a 4-year-old, they were huge. And so now I'm like, you know what? I eat them all day long. I have no problems there. But anyone that's walking around, I'm just kind of like, nope, you stay over there. I'll stay over here. Everything's fine. And oddly enough, pigeons like seek me out. I think they smell the fear. Just can't stand them. I'm sorry you're having trouble with your geese though, Michaela.
Yeah.
That's not fun.
Yeah, Michaela, I'm sorry about that. Morgan, I'm terribly sorry you had a traumatic experience. That's going to shape you in your formative years. I'm really sorry to hear about that. But I don't think I'm ever going to forget that story. That's really, really nice. Okay, so Michaela, what is it like to study at distance?
It's hard. Similar to what Hunter said, you have to move outside of your room to study. So I'll move to the living room, I'll move outside, but staying in your room, you can't focus. So it makes it pretty hard.
Yeah, YouTube calls me, when I'm doing my distance stuff or doing some readings or whatnot. And I'm just sitting in my computer the whole time, like, oh, I could just check YouTube real quick. That's not too bad. But yeah, I mean, there are obvious distractions we have to deal with, and it's a challenge. It's absolutely a challenge. There's no getting around that. All right, Michaela, thank you very much. I appreciate that. All right, we're going to move on down to Ivy. So, how's your summer going? What are you doing to stay busy and relax? And if you're taking classes, tell us about them and tell us what it's like to study at distance.
Yeah, I'm not taking any classes, but I do remember from the study at a distance that we had to do towards the end of this past year. It was what Michaela and Hunter talked about is real. It's very difficult to keep yourself self-motivated. But over the summer, since I'm not taking classes, I have had a lot of free time. So a lot of it has been kind of just relaxing. But then on top of that, I've been trying to organize my own student organization that I'll hopefully have finished by this upcoming fall, if everything goes according to plan and we're still able to come back and do get on board date and everything. I'm hoping to have, my little club ready to be up there with a booth or something. So once I have a name for it, I'll give it to the Gorgas House and y'all can spread it around, try to get people to join.
Yeah, I think we can do that. So I'm happy to hear you didn't have an aggressive goose experience. That's number one. I'm glad that's going well.
No. Luckily, I have been able to avoid that so far. I'm nervous always. How could you not be? But I'm trying.
You got to stay on your toes. Keep your head on the swivel for sure.
They sneak up on you. Come out of nowhere.
So do you want to tell us a little bit about your student organization, your student group?
Yeah, for sure. So I'm an art history major, like I said, but I started out just being around the arts. That's how I got engaged with everything. So I'm an artist myself. I really like art. I think it's very important. And I'm really thankful that I was able to be exposed to it by my parents at such a young age and that they encouraged it so much, so that I want to create an organization that could kind of do the same for the Tuscaloosa body, but also for the Tuscaloosa area. So not just the student population at UA, but middle schools around the area, that kind of thing, and do arts engagement activities with anyone and everyone. The goal is kind of to make art more accessible, because I think, a lot of people know, oh yeah, no, art's important, it's fun, it's good, but a lot of times it's hard for it to be accessible for everyone, not just for people who are like me and happen to have their parents who are also artists and want to encourage it. If you don't have that, you might not get as much exposure to it as you might like or you might benefit from. So that's kind of the idea, is just making it more accessible.
Sorry, sorry.
No, you're good.
I was muted. But yeah, that seems like a really worthwhile organization. And I know I'm sure Katherine would be happy to point students in that direction and kind of advertise.
Absolutely. And I want to bring art more to campus as well. So I've been thinking about like maybe a mural or something. I don't know if UA would accept that, but I want to try.
Every sidewalk is your canvas.
Yeah, that's what I want to try to make happen. I want to make the campus itself a little bit more vibrant with art from the students who go there.
Yeah, I think we can provide a venue space or two for some type of work.
Absolutely.
So yeah. So no, that's absolutely, yeah. And this is one reason I love student engagement with these historic spaces, is that we can create meaning on an individual level and really expand it out to see who shares with us in that vision. So no, I think that's fantastic and that's awesome. Katherine and I would be happy to work with you, kind of bringing that stuff
Great.
out.
I love the support from you guys. Thank y'all.
Yeah, no, that's really exciting. That's great. So no, thanks for sharing with us. This is fun.
Yeah, of course.
Okay. All right, Morgan, I'm going to say that question to you. How's your summer going down in Louisiana? What are you doing to stay busy and relaxed? And if you're taking courses, tell us about them and what's it like to study at distance?
I'm not taking any courses because I personally not the biggest fan of online classes because kind of like Hunter, I have to have someone in front of me telling me what to do. And so just kind of staring at a screen because I actually have a monitor, so I'll split my screen and then I get distracted and I'm on Pinterest, not studying. So I was I'll take a break, kind of relax. I got a job at where my sister works, and so I'm a temperature checker at chemical plant gates to make sure that they don't have any symptoms going into the plant because we don't want to spread infection at the plants. I've been rereading the Harry Potter series. I'm on year 4, so that's getting into the thick books, That's pretty much it. But also Ivy, through SWE, I have some contacts at local schools that I could maybe send to you, or I can look at SWE to see who we have in our contacts to kind of help you out.
That would be really, really cool.
Yeah, so
that would be awesome. Thank you.
No problem.
Yeah, well, fun. Yeah, Morgan, sounds like you got a pretty action-packed summer going on there. And what I would say about studying at distance and learning at distance is that we all learn our own way. And somebody doing higher ed work, you find out that people there are classifications of learners and how they actually engage with different material in different ways. And how do you engage with people? How do you keep them motivated? And some forms of instruction work better for some people than others. So and how you engage and how you learn, no matter what that is valid and has work. Totally agree, totally support that. What do you look at on Pinterest?
Okay. Honestly, mainly clothes and some makeup looks. Cause I used to be really into makeup, but in college I don't have a lot of time to I don't wake up early enough to do that. But I still think it's it is a form of artistry. So I always look at that. Clothes. If I had money, I would spend so much money on clothes, but I don't have the resources. So I just kind of browse.
Do you have a favorite designer?
Not really. I don't go that specific. I just kind of like to look. So
is it more about this pair of boots with this skirt with this jacket, and you look at it and go, oh, that's so cute. I so wish I could put that together. And that's kind of how I shop too.
Yeah, we have
outfits, not just oh, I like that jacket. I like to be well, that jacket would look cute with these pants, so I should get both.
Yeah, we have a really great fashion archives on campus, and Katherine has done a lot of work with it. Me just a little bit, but Katherine especially. So if you're ever interested in kind of taking a look at that space and seeing what this looks like, I'm sure we can set it up for you if you're ever curious about it.
Yeah, and they have a fantastic Instagram page too, and that's they show the most fantastic pieces from a variety of years, decades, everything, and they're really, really fantastic. So if you're not already following the Fashion Archive on Instagram, I highly recommend you do that because it's really cool, it's really interesting, and it does span a wide variety of fashions through time, and it's really great. I enjoy following them when they post.
Okay, that's super cool. I did not know they had an Instagram, so I will definitely look at that right now. Actually, I'll do that right now.
It's art. It's definitely art, and it's just fun to engage with and learn about it. I think Marcy is the one who does that, but I'll have to check and see. But
Dr. Marcy Kuntz, and she's great. She's really great.
And incredibly knowledgeable. So if you're ever curious, just let us know, and we can set it up for you. Okay, great. All right, guys, we're going to move on to our next question. We're going to circle all the way back up to Hunter. I'm going to pick your brain a little bit more. We're talking about, studying at distance, given the time during the pandemic. So tell us the one thing you miss most about being on campus.
Well, it goes hand in hand with the with my last response. I miss actually that kind of atmosphere of just like especially when I study, because since mechanical engineering, I study all the time. I have to. I just really miss like the atmosphere, just going to like the library or even like going to the museum, because that's when everything was back in operational, I was able to go there. I had a great routine and everything, and I just miss people, and that this whole pandemic just makes it to where you just really can't see people, and I guess that's what I just miss, that personal kind of connection with people the most.
Yeah, I actually get to that, and that's kind of what my answer to this question will be when we circle all around, and that's pretty much where my answer kind of aligns with that. But yeah, I get that, absolutely get that, and I'll come back to it in just a second. So Michaela, can you tell us? Yeah, go ahead, Katherine. Sorry.
No, I was just gonna say I actually might be slightly opposite, because I think I'm one of those people that I'm either an introverted extrovert, or a couple of days later I'll be an extroverted introvert. So, some days I'm totally fine being around people and everything's fine. And then other days I am absolutely fine if I only speak to one person all day. So I actually went shopping recently, and all the directional signs had everybody going, one way down one aisle and then the other way down the other aisle. And I was a lot more comfortable in that situation than I thought I'd be, because I was having one of those days where I thought, I really don't want to be too close to people. This is great. And so I walked around the whole store with my hand, with my arms crossed, until I saw something that I wanted to look at more specifically. But I can see where that's hard. But having the break in the routine, I'd completely sympathize with, because that's been rough. I think that's been, in some degree, I think that's been rough on everybody. Just the massive change in routine, and everything is so fluid. So you have a change in routine, you kind of get a little bit adjusted to that change, and then there's another change. At least a couple of months ago, that was the case. But yeah. So missing that personal interaction from campus. Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, I'm definitely a creature of habit, and it's critical for like a stable learning environment that you have that routine, like you're actually touching on. So yeah, I mean, I think everybody needs to be commended for continuing to pressure on and move through their work, not only for it be work or education pursuit. So yeah, everybody needs to be commended on that. I think everybody's doing great, so keep it up. Everybody's doing really good. Okay, Michaela, what's one thing you miss most about campus?
I think agreeing with both what Hunter said and Miss Katherine said, definitely I miss that sense of like community, because I spend all of my time in the Rowan Johnson Theater building, and there I am able to talk about musical theater. I'm able to talk about what's happening on Broadway and things like that. And my family does not like to talk about theater. They're not as obsessed with what new costume designs are coming out. So it's I miss being able to have that community, basically.
Yeah, it's tough when we build these communities and these physical spaces on campus, and then those communities are separated out of necessity. And how can you continue to communicate and engage? And we can do that. We can do that at distance. But it isn't necessarily the same thing. It's like occupying that physical space. So
you don't hear,
I understand.
You don't hear a bunch of musical theater students upstairs singing their hearts out. So that's one thing that I miss.
Yeah, there's different parts. Go ahead, Katherine.
No, go ahead.
No, I was just saying, yeah, you definitely miss part of the ambiance and the atmosphere, and you miss what creates that environment and makes it part of it.
Yes.
You can't really replicate that inside your laundry room, wherever you happen to be when you're doing Zoom calls and Skype calls. But yeah, there's something to miss there. But yeah, go ahead, Katherine.
I was just going to say, Michaela, it seems to me like as a theater major, you seem like a very outgoing and very social person. So I can only begin to imagine how difficult the transition may have been. Because in the theater, and I have to say, I spent a little bit of time on stage myself. There is a certain kind of appearance, performance,
Yes.
type thing, that bit of goingness that makes your performance really great. So I can only imagine. But that's what the shower's for. Sing your
Yeah.
heart out in the shower.
Yeah.
Just the acoustics are wonderful.
Got my
So
mom some noise canceling headphones.
there you
Good to go.
That's great.
Well, awesome, Michaela. Thanks for sharing. All right, Ivy. So tell us the one thing you miss most about campus.
Honestly, I just miss being kind of on my own. I was a freshman, it's my first year of college, and then I'm excited about being away. I feel like I'm really thriving there. I feel like I'm going places, and then I have to come back and like live with my parents again. So, that's not, and I know everybody has to go back to their parents, especially after freshman year for summer, but I didn't want it to be so soon. And I miss being on my own regardless. And I miss the walking distance of everything. So it's less about, a specific thing and more just the freedom of college. I really liked it. I was really enjoying that. And it'll be back, but yeah, I don't like waiting for it. Especially after I felt like high school was just me waiting for it for 4 years.
I get that. Yeah, being able to be your own person, really express that they're just like autonomy, and being able to go back to your own space means
Exactly.
a lot.
Yeah.
So, yeah, wow, I'm learning a lot. This is really good. Okay, all right. So Morgan, tell us the one thing you miss most about being on campus.
Kind of jumping out of the community. I'm kind of a shy person, but I just like being surrounded by people, like at the library, or like I sit at the Ferg a lot to like do my work, and I feel like if everyone else around me is busy, then I'm busy and I'm like actually like accomplishing something. And I'm kind of a worrywart, so now I'm just like, oh, are you sick? Why aren't you wearing a mask? What are you doing? Are you coughing? Are you sneezing? I'm just more like cautious about like everything around me, that I feel like it's hard to like focus in like public spaces now. So I kind of miss just being able to sit at the Ferg and like, if I'm just like, on Pinterest again, like at least I'm like doing something, but now I feel like I'm more self-aware, I guess.
Yeah, that makes sense. It makes sense. Yeah, I'm going to kind of build on what everybody's saying. It's like I miss this. I miss the sense of community. I miss having that option. As if we're in the Gorgas and it's quiet, I can enjoy the quiet. But I miss 20 people walking in at once and having to talk and engage with them, and really pick their brains and see what part of the space most interests them, and kind of fine tune what we talk about, and just have a great time with it. So I kind of miss a little bit of what everybody's saying. Like I miss the sense of community. I miss the possibility to talk to people, and I miss the ability to say, hey, I'm gonna go get some tea, or I'm gonna go to Cane's and get some chicken fingers real quick. I'll be back in 10 minutes. Like I miss having that possibility. I miss the campus climate, the campus culture. Everything that everybody's touched on, I can pick a little bits from and choose from. So yeah, absolutely, I absolutely get that.
I gotta interject. I take mine back, and I miss Cane's most for sure.
Yeah, Cane's is tough. I think Morgan. I think it's a Louisiana thing, right? So you should have them pretty close to you.
Yeah, there is. I've had Cane's multiple times. It was actually started on LSU's campus. Like the first one is still open. My sister used to live 5 minutes from it, so that was always very nice to be able to walk to the first one. So I've had it, but like not a lot, because you still have to be like, they're probably taking precautions, but then my dad's also like, well, I don't want to get sick because then I'll die. And I'm like, you're not gonna die, Dad. So it's been a few times now that things are kind of opening up, like never in March, but like more like late April, May is when I started to like get takeout and stuff. So I've had a few times. It's pretty good still. So
that's not bad. So I'm gonna skip a question. We could come back to another one because you're kind of touching on it now. And we'll start with Hunter. We'll kind of go from there. So obviously the pandemic has changed the way our society works, at least for the time being. So what are your general experiences and thoughts about the pandemic?
Well, I really just I think that I like people really just want to like be together and everything, especially during like these polarizing times that we're going through. Like we need some unity, like a sense of unity and everything. I certainly am missing like just going and seeing all my friends and everything, and I have my like parents worry about me, like, oh, you were hanging around these people, like it's like, do they have COVID-19 or something? And then like I just don't want, I just miss it to where there was less to worry about, and then like there was just like where life was just normal. If that's answering the question, I believe. I was trying to unmute the thingy, so
No, you absolutely answered the question, and I think you identified the hardest part about it is that it is tough. Like it is just simply tough. Like we want a sense of community, we want to be able to travel, we just want like some sense of normalcy. And what does that look like when you're trying to balance the needs of society at large, but also our personal health needs as well? So it is a tough line to walk, and I think we can all empathize with that point. Yeah, it isn't easy. It's not easy.
I think it helps out that I've taken up fishing now. So like that you kind of have to be on your own because people are loud and they're rambunctious and they'll scare the fish away. So
okay, what type of fishing and what are you using?
I have never used like any live bait so far. I've only used like standard little jigs and everything, and I've caught like bass about this big in like my
Very nice
backyard. So
not bad. Okay, I can make this a fishing podcast really quick, and I'm gonna try really hard not to.
I'll make sure to stop you.
Okay. For everybody else's like mental well-being, I'm gonna say that's really cool. We should talk about that more. But I'm gonna go ahead and move on before we make this a fishing podcast. All right. So Michaela, okay, what are your general experiences and thoughts, about dealing with the pandemic?
So I've had some emotional things happen due to COVID-19, but also just seeing how people don't really think about others. It's like you're told to wear a mask, you're told to wash your hands, and there are some who just don't want to, and that's kind of hard. If you're not doing it to protect yourself, at least do it to protect others. And that makes things kind of difficult.
Yeah, no, I get that. What I would say is that everybody is the narrator of their own story. And everybody in a general sense thinks, well, this may not affect me or will not affect me until it does. So it is, once again, it's hard to balance, autonomy, like self-autonomy, be able to act with your own agency, while also being understanding and sensitive that there are people around us who can or will be impacted by our actions as well. Once again, it is just tough. It is tough to know what the right thing to do is. It is tough to balance the needs of everyone. So yeah, no, I get it, especially when, I've known people who have gotten it. I've known people who are immune compromised, and how do you function and exist around them when it may not affect you at all? So yeah, it is tough. It's not easy. All right, but thanks for sharing. So Ivy, we'll move on down to you. What are your general experiences and what are your thoughts about the pandemic?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I'm experiencing what a lot of people are experiencing, where it's not earth-shattering for me. It's not, really, really changed my life. But it is like, it's a difficult thing to adjust to being on your own so much more and to having to be so much more careful. But my thoughts on it, I am really not happy with how it's going in terms of people's reactions, kind of what Michaela's talking about. It's really disturbing to me that in Alabama, at least, the regulations are at like the lowest they've been since things got, really intense. Restaurants are open back up. People are able to go sit in restaurants, in some restaurants. And a lot of people don't wear a mask, that type of thing. And it's really disturbing because the cases are only increasing, so as we're stopping our precautions and the cases are skyrocketing. And that does have to do, of course, with more testing, but regardless, it's really concerning to see that. And it makes me think, not just how long is this actually going to take to get under control, because I think regardless of people's reactions, it was going to take a while because it's new. and because the funding hasn't seemed to be there. But I don't know how things will go back to normal, I guess, after this. I've been doing a lot of thinking of like, not just how long it'll take for it to get cured, but how long it'll take for people to not, I don't know if people will ever stop being scared of, what if it comes back? What if we have to live like this again? Not that people, like I said, a lot of people aren't taking the precautions they need to take, but I do think that everybody kind of seems to have this general anxiety that's around whenever you go out in public. Everyone's a little nervous about getting too close or about upsetting somebody else by getting too close, even if they don't care themselves, whatever it is. And I don't know when that's going to go away, especially if we keep up like we do, where we're not really taking the steps to make it go away, make it stop. So it's concerning, definitely.
Yeah, and you touched on a point that I think is really prescient there, and is that it is simply, we don't know. We don't know what the future is going to hold. We don't know what our proper procedures are supposed to be. We simply don't.
And it's really hard to convince people to do something about, this big monster that's in the way when you don't know. Because then it's easy to say, oh, well, I don't believe in it. It's not real. It's not as bad as they're making it sound.
Yeah, so once again, it's like, I don't know, and if it hasn't affected me, I doubt that it will, and even if it does, it's not going to be that big of a deal. So yeah, once again, it's hard. It's hard to know what to do. It's hard to formulate those plans, and it's hard to know once we do implement those plans, we go forward with it, what are the effects going to be? Because we're really in uncharted territory. We just don't know. And what I hope that we're doing here, one reason I wanted to talk about this is bring up the question in this format, is to provide a platform for this conversation to start. Because if we don't talk about it, if we don't talk about it in like an academic setting or really engage with students and what this means to them, we're not doing anybody any service, especially when it starts talking about it like an academic environment. So no, this has been really good, and I wish I could say more than I don't know. Other than we'll do our best. So, but Ivy, thanks. That was great. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
All right, Morgan. Last person. We'll go to that same question. What have your experiences been? What are your general thoughts about the pandemic?
So my experience, like I've basically been like quarantined until late May because my dad would be the person to like go out because he's like the best person alive. So he was like, y'all stay safe. So I've been one of those people who's like been quarantined, and that's obviously an adjustment because you can't go out and stuff. But I find that like I started exercising more, and so like I feel healthier, I feel better. So like staying in quarantine hasn't been the worst thing, I guess. But I think just in general, like it's brought out both the best and the worst in people. Because you have those obviously like the emergency responders who are like on the front lines and they're in the hospitals, but then you have, the media who's making, I feel like everyone kind of crazy and like ramping up people's emotions, and people are already emotional because they're stuck inside. And like I know I also browse like Reddit stories where like people like are going crazy over not being let into a restaurant. And I'm like, it's not, you don't have to be let into a restaurant, like it's not the end of the world if you don't. So I just think that it's crazy seeing like different sides of people who you thought were, good people, but then they turn out to be kind of crazy when you like leave them alone for too long. So.
Yeah, I get that. And it's hard to say that people's reaction to this, whatever it might happen to be, as long as they aren't directly hurting anyone else, is wrong. Because we all focus and we all deal with this in our own way. And as long as it doesn't hurt anyone else, it's probably a legitimate way and a healthy way to deal with it, as long as it doesn't cross that boundary and impact somebody else. So, I get that. We went to doing ship shopping. And at the very beginning, I would go out and I would get our groceries and I'd bring them back and we disinfect them. But then we just started having them brought to our house, and we we're privileged enough to be able to do that. For me, in terms of how it affects my work environment, I go to the Gorgas maybe once or twice a week just to check on things, let some maintenance crews come in. But otherwise, I'm sitting, in my laundry room or art room, whatever happens to be, with my headphones on, doing Skype calls or Zoom calls, and then doing research and sending emails all day. So it hasn't been the worst for me. I'm around my family more, even if I can't hear them at all. But yeah, there are valid ways to deal with it. And as long as it doesn't impact anybody adversely, I think there's some legitimacy to all of it. So everybody thinks, I know that was a bit of a loaded question, but I appreciate everybody's responses to it. And we have had a lot more questions. We have about 10 minutes or so left. So I'll pick a couple of them. We'll try and get through them as best we can. Okay, so Hunter, go back up to you. So what sorts of things are you doing to engage with and learn about the things you otherwise might visit in person, like a museum, for example? You doing virtual tours, you listen to podcasts, and if so, what are your favorites?
Well, for me personally, I'm going to be real, I get on Netflix and go through documentaries and stuff, and like, especially since I saw that there was a World War II in color now, I was like, ooh, cool, I can see things,
Okay.
you know, and like that just generally interested me. So like specifically on the actual Netflix stuff is like World War II in color. I do love space and stuff, so there's like stuff about like the universe and like asteroids and stuff, and like where these happened, and yeah, basically Netflix documentaries and stuff. That's where I get my stuff that I did not typically know.
Yeah, you'd be surprised. There's a lot. Netflix has a lot on it. That's a whole library of interesting shows and stuff to find out. So yeah, that's pretty neat. So is the World War II documentary your favorite one?
Yes, and then there's also there's like it's called History, I think 101 in there, and it's just a bunch of history stuff just like compiled, and it's like in just in one place. Like it's not just focusing on just one specific thing. It just worked its way up, and it's like there it is.
Okay.
If you like his history documentaries, Ken Burns is really good. He has a lot of series. I actually met him once, and he's like super nice. So I always try to like push his documentary on people, be like, watch Ken Burns.
Will do.
Yeah.
Yeah, like his Vietnam one is incredible. Morgan, where did you meet Ken Burns?
Whenever I went to the National History Day competition, which is like a science fair for history projects. I went to the national competition in Washington, D.C., and he was the keynote speaker at like the opening ceremony. And I represented Louisiana at the Smithsonian Museum of American History with my project. And so he came around to like see everyone's projects. And so I got to like meet him for a few minutes and like kind of show him what I did. So.
Okay, Morgan. Okay.
That's so impressive. How old, what grade were you in when you did this?
It's for high school students. I was a junior, I think, that year. So
Congratulations. Wow, that is awesome.
Okay, wow. Yeah, I'm really impressed. I'm learning more and more. I'm gonna have to check out fashion on Pinterest, and now pick your brain about meeting Ken Burns a little bit more in the future. So that's not bad. Okay, Michaela, we're going to take the same question to you. You know, what are you doing to engage and learn learn in this time? You know, and especially with places you otherwise could visit in person, but you can't now. So what are you doing? What are some of your favorite things?
So I am also watching different documentaries, but I like the more obscure side of history. So I'll listen to podcasts like Lore, which talks about like all of like the supernatural stuff that's happened, or various events that are like unexplainable. And I just think they're super interesting.
Yeah, Lore's a good one. Lore's a really good one.
I have both books.
Okay. Yeah, Dan Carlin's like Hardcore History. If you have like a block of 4 hours or 6 hours, you just want to listen to something, his is great too. So I definitely recommend like Hardcore History with Dan Carlin. That's not bad.
If you like a lot of weird history that's maybe borderline conspiracy theory,
Yes.
I started listening to a podcast. I think it's called Winds of Change, and it's following the story of some people have this notion that the CIA wrote the Scorpion song "Winds of Change" to impact world events. It's been really interesting. I don't know how much I believe it, but it's been interesting to hear the investigation and the interviews with people in following that story. So I've started listening to that. So if you like some kind of quirky off the wall sort of history podcast, theories. yeah, it's been an interesting listen for sure.
I just wrote that down. I have to check that out now. All right, very cool. All right, Ivy, what about you? What are some things you're doing to learn and engage with just an educational opportunity with something that you'd otherwise live in person but can't now? So what are you really doing to learn and engage this time?
Yeah, so definitely podcast documentaries are all good. Art Curious is a really good one if you're interested in art history. And she, the host of Art Curious, talks a lot about kind of the little forgotten details of artists. So, you know, we all know Van Gogh or Picasso or all these people, but she gives kind of these interesting little tidbits about their life that we know a little bit about, but we don't get a lot about. And so it's an interesting podcast. But I actually tried something yesterday that I would totally recommend anybody try if they're just really bored. And it sounds crazy, but I was walking around my mom's house and she has all these paintings on the wall, or like, you know, just art. People put art on their walls. And I was like, I'm going to pretend, you know, why couldn't this just be a museum? Why can't this house just be a little art museum? So I just walked around and like stood in front of all the paintings and looked at them and like analyzed them as though they had been curated by someone who really put them there intentionally for some sort of deep purpose. And it was actually really rewarding. I started writing an essay on these two art pieces that my mom has up that are just kind of randomly placed there above the dining room table. But it's a fun little thing to do if you feel like, I don't know, feeling like you're crazy, but also having kind of a good time. It's a good way to spend some quarantine time for sure.
Brandon, Catherine, I think we found a new video series that we should do with UA Museums.
Yes. You know, actually, Rebecca, I was like, this could be a thing. I could start a podcast or something where I just go to different weird houses throughout like Alabama and just, you know, analyze their artwork. It's pretty
Write
fun.
that down, Mr. Thompson.
Okay, I'm writing it down. We have to cut this out of the live stream. Bleep it out. We're going to trademark this.
Okay, yeah, trademark. Nobody else can do that.
Right.
Nobody.
If anybody watching on Facebook, forget you saw this. We're going to cut it out of our YouTube upload later. Let me write that down. Okay. Money making podcast. Okay. All right. Not bad. All right. Thanks, Ivy. Appreciate that.
No problem.
All right, Morgan, what about you? What are you doing to, you know, still learn and engage? What kind of educational opportunities are you finding for yourself?
I've been doing a lot of like virtual tours because I like documentaries, but like I don't really like to watch them all the time. So I've really been looking into the State Hermitage Museum in Russia because like who travels to Russia? And they have like 3 stories, and it's like interactive, and it'll like spin around the room in 3D for you, and it has like all the plaques, and like they have 3 floors. So like I've been kind of going floor by floor to like look at everything. I've also been looking at the National Portrait Gallery, which uses Google, and it's more like a slideshow. So like if you don't want to like click and drag everywhere, like that's an easy one to kind of just like scroll through it. And like Ivy might be interested because like they do go through the portraits, and like they had one on George Washington, and it like zoomed in on like specific portions of like the portrait, be like, oh, this is like was put there because it's a democratic symbol. And so it kind of goes into the art history aspect as well.
I would love to see that. That sounds really cool. So, and you could it's just free online. You just look up the portrait museum. Okay, cool.
Yeah. I did the Uffizi Gallery because I've been there in person. So I was like, oh,
you've been to the Uffizi Gallery?
Yes, I went to Italy. Actually, the week before I went to the National History Nationals, I was in Italy. Because I went on like a school trip, and then I immediately flew to DC, like Washington DC, to go to the competition. So it was a
travel with Morgan.
That's awesome.
Y'all probably be both be interested into the Royal Collection in Britain is doing a lot of the same type of thing. They're doing virtual tours. They're doing whole bunch of video content, you know, different things like that. So you know, you have the chance to see different rooms of Buckingham Palace because of course they're not doing summer opening. And a good friend of mine from graduate school is the social media officer for the Art Gallery of Ontario. And so she's been doing this the whole time, but, you know, especially since their doors closed, she's responsible for all the online social media content. And so she has done, little interviews with their curators about, where the curator is talking about a specific piece and, whatnot. So those are two other online sites y'all may check out. The Royal Collection, Hampton Court as well is doing a lot of interesting stuff, and then the Art Gallery of Ontario, or AGO, is doing a lot of more specifically history. But yeah, that's really
That's
awesome.
awesome.
I
Thank y'all for
also
doing
took a school trip to Italy, so I have that's how I saw Italy too, Morgan. I'm pretty sure, I won't say how long ago it was I was there, but I'm pretty positive the Uffizi was one of our stops as well. But we landed in Milan, and 10 days later we were in Rome. So
Yeah,
that
through
was
education first, like EF, because that's I went.
Yes, I think it was actually. Now that I think about
that's
it,
what we did. We went through EF, which is like education first, which is they have tours all over the world for high schools, but also like if you graduate and like a teacher, like you can always like join trips or whatever. We went there, and I went to. It was a blend between their like standard tour and like a custom tour. So like I went to the Uffizi on my own because we had a lot of free time. So like I went to that like during the free time thing, but they did a really good job about making sure that like we got the historical tours and like we knew everything that was going on there. So
oh yeah, it was great. I'm pretty sure that's how I went too. Like I said, I won't share how long ago that was. But yeah, it was great.
All right, everybody. I have a few more questions left. We're just not going to be able to get time to them, which just means we're going to have to do this again, probably a little later in the summer, which if everybody's down for it, I would love to do that. But one of our viewers asked a question. We have a little less than 5 minutes, so we'll do it kind of quickly. But Hunter, we're going to start with you. Ronald asked, what drew you to working with UA Museums? What museum-related projects have you either worked with or looking forward to working with if and when you return to campus? So Hunter, we'll start with you.
Well, I kind of like left off in like a work study project at the Transportation Museum that I would love to finish. I don't know if it's still sitting there.
It is.
Oh, it's still sitting there. Awesome.
Absolutely. It's just waiting on you to come back.
I'm looking to kind of incorporate like the coal industry and kind of like miners and everything like in Alabama, because coal was a big thing for like in Tuscaloosa and like in the surrounding areas of Tuscaloosa. So that was the kind of project I was trying to center towards.
Yeah, it included Hunter was going to do a mini exhibit basically, and we spent time in collections, and he pulled some artifacts from collections, and was just beginning to develop a narrative and text and everything, and then spring break hit and the pandemic hit, and everything just kind of the pause button was hit after that. But yes, it's all still down here, and it is just waiting on you to tell the story.
All right, can't wait.
Very cool. Yeah, thanks, Hunter. I'm looking forward to seeing that whenever you're able to put it together. So Michaela, a question for you. What drew you to working with UA Museums? And what museum-related projects are you working on, or do you look forward to working with when you get back to campus?
So let's see. So I kind of touched on this when we did our first live stream. Both me and another coworker, Adrian, we both took a tour of the Gorgas House, and then all of a sudden we were like, we're going to be tour guides, and that kind of started that ball rolling. I've enjoyed being a part of our community outreach programs. So whether it's our holiday open house or our Halloween haunting, and things that I want to work on, we've made a short list about them earlier. So you just have to wait and see.
All right, I like how you tease it. So yeah, you have to come by and check out our spaces when everything opens back up, and you can see everything that Michaela is working on. So yeah, not bad. Thanks, Michaela. I appreciate it. So Ivy, what about you? What drew you to working with UA Museums? And what museum-related projects have you either worked on or looking forward to working with when you get back?
Yeah, I actually just thought about this just now when you asked that question, or when the viewer asked the question. I know there's a lot of pieces in the museum that art pieces, specifically paintings, that we don't necessarily know where they came from because it was just somebody's house, and they were, they're just, for a long time, it was just somebody's home that they lived in, and they were just decorating it as they would. So there's not a lot of record kept of some of those things. But if it's possible, and you or Miss Camilla, one of our really helpful volunteers, she might know about it as well, I'd really like to see if I could work on getting more information about all of those pieces, and maybe even getting like a placard or something put up under each of them with the artist and the title, if that's possible to find, the date, that type of thing. That would be really cool, but it might be impossible, just because I know that some things there's just no record of, and they're so old, might not be able to ever figure it out.
Even if we can't find exactly who did what, at least we could figure out, what style was it done in, what was the motivational influence of this, what were the pigmentations used, and that kind of thing. So even if you don't know
there's always, there could be information found on it for sure.
Yeah. So no, I have a huge list of projects to look forward to when everybody comes back now. So just keep piling them up. Just keep throwing them at us. We'll get them all to stick. So no, thanks. All right, Ivy, I appreciate it. Thanks so much. Morgan, what about you? What drew you to working with UA Museums, and what museum-related projects have you either worked with or looking forward to working with when you get back?
So last fall, when I was a sophomore, I got an email from the museum club, and they're like, "Hey, email Mr. Brandon Thompson if you want to volunteer at the Gorgas House." And I was like, I want to volunteer at the Gorgas House because I kind of grew up being in Louisiana, especially with all of our history especially in the antebellum South, with slavery and the plantation houses and farming and agriculture and all that. I've been to a lot of antebellum houses that I've always found their history so fascinating, especially how it's still relevant in today's conversation. So I was like, well, it'd be cool to have that experience, or just get a tour, because I had never been to the Gorgas House. So I emailed him, Mr. Thompson, and was like, hey, I'm interested. And he's like, come talk to me and we'll discuss. And so that's how I kind of got started volunteering there. And I haven't had an opportunity to do any projects, but I'm kind of looking forward to the ones that we have lined up for the fall. So I'm hoping I can help Michaela out with those. Or also I would be interested in starting to have more of stuff like this, where it's students talking about what we're doing and the history on campus as more of the podcast style, or on the Zoom call. So I think that'd be an interesting project to work on, to spread the history of the campus.
That's fantastic. I happen to know somebody who should be right there on my screen, Rebecca, who can help us out with a podcast idea or two.
I like the idea of having maybe a weekly live stream from you all at the Gorgas House Museum, or just students in museums in particular. I think that would be really cool. We could do it on Instagram Live, or we could do it here on Facebook or YouTube, whatever y'all want to do. But I think that's a really good idea to show the perspective of the students. So we'll work on that.
Okay.
That's exciting. Everybody. Yeah, we're going to make it happen. Michaela, we're definitely going to make it happen before you have to graduate.
Podcast so bad.
Okay. All right, let's see what we can do. Guys, I had a lot of questions we weren't able to get to. Katherine and I did, touching on your favorite historic spaces, what your thoughts are on the current, renaming the buildings and moving monuments around. What does it actually mean? I was really curious to get a student perspective. But, I think that question alone could cover an entire week's worth of podcast material. So we'll have to touch on that next time. We have some others we can get to as well. I don't want to try and shoehorn them in now, because we just won't be able to do it justice and give it the amount of time that it actually deserves. But now, all that said, thank you to each and every one of you. Y'all are doing great. This has been a real joy. It's a real treat to see everybody again. I miss seeing everybody. That's probably the number one thing I miss, is just seeing all of y'all on campus, and seeing Hunter for the first time. Now I know where to come and find you over in the engineering building, studying all the time. But no, once again, this has been great. Katherine, do you have any closing words you'd like to say?
Well, again, you're also wonderful and inspirational, and I think these conversations that we're having, that feature and focus on all of you and your thoughts and opinions, are just pure tangible evidence of how interdisciplinary museums are, and how interdisciplinary they are on a college campus and in an academic setting. And you are what make that possible. And it's your energy and just everything that you all bring to the table, both as individuals and as a collective body. And you're just fantastic. And yes, we have to do that podcast now. I mean, there's just so much interesting. You're also interesting. There's no way that, I just don't think there's any way that we can't, with everything going on. So if that's something positive that comes out of all of this pandemic stuff, then it's just going to be great. But no, you're all wonderful, and I think you're all doing a fantastic job dealing with everything. And we miss you, and we can't wait to have you back in town and on campus. It's going to be great.
Yeah, we'll definitely have to do this again and find the proper format for further conversations as well. Well, thank you all for being here, and I think that's going to do it for this Museums from Your Home live stream. We've changed our live stream schedule up a little bit because we've got some big summer events. We've got Museum Expedition going on right now. If you want to head over to the Alabama Museum of Natural History or the Museum Expedition Facebook pages, they've got some content dropping every day. So if you want to check those out, Bama Bugfest is coming up next month. So we've got some big summer events. So we've sort of decreased things from Museums from Your Home to make way for all of that. But we're still going to be doing history stuff on Wednesday, and we're going to be at Moundville Archaeological Park's Facebook page and the UA Museums YouTube channel on Mondays. So we still got Monday and Wednesdays for Museums from Your Home right now. So if you want to keep up with all of our video content, if you want to go back and watch the previous live stream we did with some of these students, you can go to the UA Museums YouTube channel, which is at youtube.com/UA Museums, and you can keep up with all of our content there. If you subscribe, you never miss anything. So it's a great way to keep up with us. If you want to support what these students do and some of the programs that we put on that they are a part of, you can become a supporting member of UA Museums by going to give.ua.edu/museums. And I just want to thank everybody again for being on the panel, and for everybody who was watching live and who will watch this in the future. Thank you for visiting UA Museums from Your Home. All right. Well, hope everybody has a great day and a great rest of your week.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Bye. Great talking with you guys.